great. If everybody stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is the first meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, so we need to first accept the agenda, and then let's see, normally we'd have petitions from the public.
We do that after we accept the agenda.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the agenda?
We'll make that motion.
Support?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, we all are in favor. The first order of business is to elect a chairman. I'm not sure we should have the training first and then, or if we just elect the chairman does take the minutes and we could proceed from there. I mentioned as we were just coming in that if it's a trustee, you can only vote in one place, so that might be
The zoning board of appeal does not, anything decided here doesn't go to the council. The only thing after here, if it's anything, decision is made here, and the person who doesn't agree with that, then they have to go to court. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So there's not a conflict going to.
Oh, there's not a conflict. Okay,
There's not a
that,
conflict, no.
so see, I need to know, okay, this is where you go first and second and third, and that's why I'm grateful that you're here today. So, is there a motion to elect a chair?
Nate's absent.
Can you elect someone who's not present?
Nice guy.
I guess.
I would nominate Nate for president.
Is there support?
I support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the new chair will be Nate Anderson if he so accepts the appointment.
I hate railroading him into it, but
I can't.
That'll teach him not to show
I
up.
mean, if I had something else I could take.
And now we're to petitions
it's
from,
vice chair also.
it's not on here.
Well, yeah, we need both though.
Okay.
Chair and vice chair.
A vice chair,
Now Sandy did mention that she would be willing to do vice chair when I talked to her. So if you want to elect two people that aren't here.
see, that's the trustee. Oh, but it doesn't
We don't
go
have it in
to
conflict,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so who all is on this board that's not present?
It's just Nate, Sandy, you three.
Okay. So, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to elect Sandy as the
Vice chair?
vice chair.
Is there support?
I'll support. She was
Okay.
interested, so.
That'll teach both of them to show up. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
And now we're to petitions from the public. Are there any?
Yeah, I have one, and you guys already hit on the topic. It is true, and I have the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act excerpt here that says that you can only vote on the same issue once. And so if you read that, you cannot vote on the council and the zoning board of appeals. So you guys are thinking if it only comes to the zoning board of appeals, then certainly you're only voting once. The issue would be if you voted on something in the council and then somebody came to the zoning board of appeals to appeal that decision, then you can't vote twice.
Yeah, but the decision, they wouldn't go to the council, they would,
Well, I'll give you an example.
Like a zoning change, okay, would go to the planning commission first, they would recommend the council.
Yeah.
And if the council, let's say, turn that request down, it might come to the zoning board of appeals.
Yes.
That's right. So that direction, I mean, if you go zoning board and then it stops there, you could vote if you were also on the council. But that same path, if it was a planning commission issue, and we could say exactly like the issue coming up with Airbnb, it'll go to planning commission, then they will make a recommendation to the council, and then I would see there's a chance for appeal of the council decision if it goes either way. If it
We're
was-
gonna go over that in
If
this
it-
training, and I'm not sure that that appeal comes to the zoning board of appeals on a zoning change.
No, this is a conditional use.
It would not come here.
You might want to check it. So I'm just saying, my thinking is with the Airbnb, if it got to the council and the council approved it, I would appeal that decision. If the council denied it, perhaps the people who wanted that conditional use would also appeal it. So a yes and a no could be coming to the zoning board of appeals. It's something, just bringing that section of the Michigan zoning law to your attention so you can do your research and figure out if that is a scenario that will create a problem. I mean, I could see there are 2 members on the zoning board of appeals that aren't on the council. So in the worst case scenario, it'd be a vote of 2 people, and 2 people could be anonymous. And so there's a mechanism. It's just, it's something to think about.
Pat, then the statute says that the legislative body can act as a zoning board.
Yes.
So,
But that's a whole different
I
scenario.
mean, so what would be the difference then?
You know, I'm not sure.
Because there wouldn't be any appeal. If it was-
Yeah, again, I'm not sure what would be appealed here that the council would have voted on.
Right.
So we're gonna talk about that in this training.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be backwards where they go to the council and then they see our faces and we've made a decision, and then they come here and they see us again, and then would we reverse our position, or would I don't think it'd be fair to have us vote in 2 places, and that's why the law says we can. And that, so if I was making up the rules of procedure, I would not have any trustee serve on any board except on the council. That way they wouldn't have to wonder if their vote counts here or there or in a different place. Was there anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay.
Okay. First, I'd like to introduce Pat Coleman. He's an urban and town planner. His company is north of 45. He attended Minnesota State University and first worked with our village when he was with UP Engineering and Architects. Pat has over 35 years of experience, and I know this to be true because when I was on the council 35 years ago, he came to the council. So, and he is committed to resolving community issues and helping clients achieve success. So I thought that is great. I found it on when I Googled you. His services include master plan, zoning, downtown revitalization, urban design and placemaking, urban redevelopment and feasibility, public involvement and engagement programs, parks and recreation, grants and funding. He's the founder, as of January 2008, of Winter Cities Institute.
That's right.
I thought January is a perfect month for a winter initiative, and today he's here to help us make sense out of our our zoning ordinances and the procedures we should follow in order to govern properly. And before I turn the program over to him, I had an email yesterday from Todd LaRue. He's our building inspector. And I thought because this variance was going to come before us, maybe there was insight from him. And so when I clicked on Todd LaRue, you know, it says Houghton County Building Inspector. And then it said, what was it? Secure docs, type in your email and your password. And then when I got to password, I thought, well, why would Todd not want my password? And so I got out of it and I called the office today, and Tracy said, delete it immediately, don't even go there. So now we even have people going into the Houghton County Building Inspector's files. So we have to be really careful who we accept emails from, and never give out your password. But without further delay, I'll turn the program over to Pat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I am working with the Planning Commission on the master plan for the village. And that's, we've had a couple of good meetings on that. And this is a little bit out of my scope of work, but I did offer to help you folks get through this and to get better organized for planning and zoning. So that we can kind of get out of this chaos, and I really appreciate the job Joe's trying to do, coming in and not having that history and not even having somebody here to work with who knows everything that's been going on. It's got to be very difficult. So I really appreciate his efforts, and it's not easy, but I think step by step, the village is going to be able to move forward and be better organized. And I know there's been interest in this whole idea of redevelopment-ready communities here. It's an MEDC program that potentially could offer some real help to you and to make it smoother for people to do business here, to develop property. And that's really the main goal of the program. And in order to get through to become a certified redevelopment community, you have to have all your ducks in order in terms of your planning and your zoning, as well as some other things. Those are two key things. I thought we'd start, and these are slides. I do training on occasion with Michigan Association of Planning for planning commissioners. So this is the part on the Zoning Board of Appeals, but if we start with the roles and responsibilities, and do you have a copy, does she have a copy of these documents?
Here's an extra one, I think. No.
Yeah, especially this one that I passed out. Right there, that one.
Yeah.
Do you have an extra? I have a whole pile
Of these, let's see. This is just the one we got before today. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about who does what here in the village in terms of planning and zoning. So we have three groups really that are engaged in it. The Planning Commission, which is appointed body by the village council. Their roles and responsibilities include master plan, zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, if you have one, zoning reviews, that would include like rezoning requests or special use permits or conditional use permits, as they're called today in your zoning ordinance, site plan review, and also providing an annual report on their activities to the legislative body. Then we have the village council, the legislative body. They are elected, so they make appointments to the various boards. They adopt the zoning ordinance. They approve based on recommendations from the Planning Commission, which they don't have to go with the recommendation. But generally they do, because the planning commission is the board that does the homework and is not really political and looks at things very objectively and so forth. So somebody wants to change zoning, planning commission reviews that, makes a recommendation to council reviews that recommendation and then makes that approval. Same thing with special use permits. Or they may, depending on your zoning ordinance. Some
So,
zoning ordinances don't require the special use permits to go to council. They only require that zoning review, that special use permits can be approved by the planning commission or even the zoning administrator without going through all that. Legislative bodies are responsible for budgets, and then to adopt the master plan, that is optional. I always think it's a good idea if the village council would adopt the master plan following approval by the planning commission.
now does the planning commission have their own master plan and the DBA their own master plan and the council their own master plan?
No, there's only one master plan. Now, the DDA plan or the downtown plan can be a sub-plan.
Just part of the
Master
master document?
Right. Mhm.
Okay,
So the council doesn't prepare their own. They adopt, if they so wish to, the master plan that was prepared and adopted by the planning commission.
Okay, just so it's clear, the DDA plan though, it's maybe a sub-document, but it's a separate document from the master plan. It's
It
not-
can
it's
be
not conducted
included
as-
or it can be separate,
Right.
either way. But it's called a sub-area
Currently is.
plan. It's a special plan. In bigger communities, you might have a commercial strip plan, you might have a downtown plan, you might have a historic neighborhood plan. Those are all sub-plans under the master plan, sub-area plan. And then that brings us to the zoning board of appeals, and their duties and responsibilities include variances, appeals, interpretations, and other duties, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But I thought this was an important slide because it clearly defines the roles of the three groups.
see, I'm a little confused, like when are you gonna discuss the master plan with the council? Because if the planning commission has a different vision, I know you presented
Well, that's why it's
preliminary to
important that
them,
the
but there's been
council
no dialogue with
members
us.
participate. They should be participating along with the planning commission.
How, you
Meaning-
should be coming to the council though, not just the planning commission, I think. Because if it's one master plan for all of us, there should be input from the council instead of after the fact when you tell us your plan is done. We
Well, I
don't-
think that's true, yeah.
That's
And
too
so
late.
there has been some of that. Council did participate with, in some community involvement.
Just that
a
summer.
year ago,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah,
So there has been some input. Certainly when the master plan gets to the council for review and approval, you have the opportunity to send it back and make changes if you want.
so you don't want any input, you're just gonna do it
Yeah,
and then we
like I
review
said,
it
yeah.
when it's done.
Yeah, mhm.
But there's been 9 people that are on the planning commission. Unless you want to have 15 people on the planning commission, but there's 9 people that were appointed to do that part of it. To work with Pat to develop the master plan, to provide that input.
I mean, the village council has lots of responsibilities, right?
Right,
And
right,
so for the future planning of the community, you have appointed a planning commission
right.
who you
I
trust
know.
is going to do a good job of preparing the master plan and carrying out their responsibilities.
But if you let the trustees know when you're gonna be making presentations, I'm sure we could show up, but
Absolutely.
those of us that have been around, you know, over half a
Mhm.
century and we've got generations of our forebears, I think it would have something very important to contribute to the long-range planning, because we've been here, we've seen some things work, some things that don't work, and we could help you.
Right, and that's why you do have the opportunity to participate at any time in that process.
Right, if we know when you're gonna be presenting, just let us know so
Okay?
we can attend.
All right, so let's go on to the ZBA. That's why we're here today. We've got a little table of contents there in the front. So here's what the membership is. So 3 to 5 members. You're not a township and a county, so it doesn't require a planning commission member to be on it. But a planning commission may be on the zoning board of appeals in cities and villages. A legislative body member may be on the ZBA. And then, of course, the statute does allow the appointment of the village council to the ZBA. So alternates are allowed and actually encouraged, because when we get to the voting, you'll see why. Because it's important to have quorums, or more than a quorum, present at the ZBA meetings. And let me just say this, hopefully the ZBA is not going to have to meet very often. You know, that your zoning ordinance, now that after the master plan, that's going to have to be your next step for planning and zoning, is to bring your old zoning ordinance up to date, to be consistent with the master plan, and to be consistent to the state law, which was changed in 2006. Okay, so when you have alternates, again, if there's conflicts of interest, as was discussed prior to me sitting down here, then you can get an alternate in there. And then they stay with that case. So this page, the next page about voting,
When would an alternate come in to play?
when somebody is going to be absent, let's say there's a variance case coming up, and the zoning administrator checks, are we going to have enough people there?
Just
Then
for absence?
For absence, or if there's a conflict of interest. Because there might be, one of you might say, oh, that's my brother-in-law.
Yeah, or our own, we have our own variance for a property we're doing, and you obviously.
Yeah.
So, that's the reason why alternates are good.
Okay.
Reason, and now the next page 3.
How many alternates do they recommend? 2?
Yes.
Okay.
So voting on administrative matters, the majority of the quorum. So if you have 5 members on your ZBA, majority of the quorum is 3 votes. For variances, interpretations, and administrative appeals, majority of membership. So again, you need, if it's 5 members, you need 3 votes. So let's go back to administrative matters. If majority of quorum, so let's say quorum is 3, and so you need to get 2 votes on administrative matters. If only 3 people are present.
Right, the majority of those present.
Right.
It's not a majority of the total electorate or appointed.
Membership.
Yeah.
Referred to here, right?
Right. So, on the use variance, and I really don't want to get into those very much because I don't think they are a good idea, but it's one of the quirks of Michigan is that they used to just hand out variances like rezonings, okay? A use variance would be you have listed permitted uses in a zoning district. Somebody wants to do something else, I'll give them a variance. So communities have done that historically. They have this precedent. You really haven't done that. So I would recommend staying away from use variances and stay with your zoning ordinance.
because it's almost like they might have a zoning ordinance if you're going to get a lot of variances for uses.
Like use variance, are you saying, like if you have a residential area and somebody wants to put in an Airbnb,
That could be a use variance, yes.
and
Or
not to do
a-
it?
Huh?
You're saying not to do that?
Not to give out, no, there's other channels for doing that, okay, rather than giving out use variances.
Hmm. And what's the other channel then?
Well, special use, which is what you're doing here now with the Airbnb, right? Conditional
For
use,
under,
But there's
under
nothing on
the
here.
planning.
planning
You
commission.
mean conditional use?
Yes. Your ordinance calls it conditional use, the new law calls it special use. Same
Special,
thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should update our form too, because our emails changed on this.
A lot of change, yeah.
Yeah,
Your whole zoning ordinance really needs updating very bad.
oh yes, 1990 till now, there's been many.
The world's a different place, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so duties and powers, again, we have a little subsection here. So we're going to talk about standards for decisions, administrative appeals, interpretations, variances, and reviews. So it's important to have review standards in your ordinance, and I'm trying to recall what's in there now for review standards. There may not be any. Do you have your ordinance?
Yeah, I do.
I don't have 27. I can get it for you.
127? Let's see, I think this is, yeah. Page 55 to 57 is our zoning board of appeals section, if that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, you've got a couple of standards here on page 56. Zoning Board of Appeals should not grant an appeal unless they find the following facts at the hearing. That there are special circumstances or conditions affecting the land, building, or use that do not apply generally to other property, and that the granting of the application will not materially adversely affect health safety of persons in the area. So those are your standards.
Okay.
Probably not enough. So that's the first thing, are review standards met? Are all other ordinance requirements met?
What do you mean not enough? What would you suggest should be in there that's not at the present?
Just some more language to guide the decisions of the zoning board of appeals.
Yeah, I was talking with Tim Turshett on the computer first, but also with that. And update to this needs to be done by some outside entity who's a lot more knowledgeable about this. It's not something that the ordinance committee is going to be able to do. I said, I'm correct. Normally they've done something that's.
Now, I was told that cost us $10,000 back in 1990. They're expensive.
Yeah, it's going to cost quite a bit more than that.
The county doesn't have zoning.
No, not Holton County. And actually,
More
the only local governments north of the bridge that have zoning is City Hancock, Village of Calumet, and Calumet Township.
Not McLendon.
Nope. Not Torch Lake Township, not Osceola Township. Look around. You can tell. So, anyway, that's, that's gonna take, I know, actually I'm working with another firm on the City of Marquette zoning ordinance, which of course, much bigger town, much more complicated. But that budget for that project is $85,000. So I don't see yours being anywhere near that. It seems to me I did Portage Townships 2 years ago. And that was an update of an existing ordinance. And that, I think, was about $17,000.
When did the township update theirs last? You know?
In the mid-2000s.
Okay,
Okay, so, now here are the duties and powers. I'm on page 6. Administrative appeals. So this is one of the things that the ZBA does is listen to administrative appeals. Site plan review, if the planning commission would do, or the zoning administrator, if somebody who's submitting an application for site plan review wants to appeal a decision by the planning commission, they come to the ZBA.
For instance, Jim has a garage that he wants to put on his lot, but he doesn't want to abide by the current setback requirements. And so since that is in conflict with the ordinance, then that's something that's why it's coming to here to be.
Well, that's actually a variance, so, yeah.
but wouldn't the planning commission first make a recommendation?
No, not on
We had talked about it
dimensional.
because we weren't sure what the process was, but Jim had helped us out on it.
Yeah.
So,
So he comes in, and basically what it is, he comes to the zoning administrator, I want this garage, zoning administrator looks at the dimensions, say, no, you don't meet the zoning ordinance in terms of setbacks. So that, then he appeals it, that decision, to the zoning board of appeals.
so if.
So again, that,
he says he
we're not
doesn't
at
comply,
variances yet, this
then
is just administrative appeals.
Yeah,
So the zoning administrator turns somebody down, or the applicant doesn't feel the zoning administrator gave his application review, or there's a difference of opinion on interpretation of the ordinance, that's an administrative appeal. So here's the process. Decision was made, determine if that decision was reached following proper procedures and facts. Did the zoning administrator do their job correctly? If they did, that decision is upheld. If the decision is found to be improperly made, the zoning board of appeals becomes the decision maker on that administrative appeal. Next, page 8, or slide 8, we have zoning ordinance interpretations. And we have to look at the text of the ordinance. Somebody's saying, I read your ordinance differently, I think my use is permitted. Okay? So now the zoning board of appeals, weighs in on that and makes a decision. The interpretation of this document. It comes down to words. It all comes down to words, and a lot of times, may, the words may, shall, will, okay, all have different interpretations. So that's something that's very important. The other interpretation will be to the map. Okay, you look at a map, the zoning map of the village, where exactly is that line? And oftentimes these maps are small scales. The weight of that line might be 20 feet on the ground, okay, if you know what I'm talking about. So where is that? That's why it's very important with your zoning map that it follow property lines and streets and roads. But sometimes, and I've seen this, they'll just, especially along highways or something, they'll just take a marker and put orange stripe there. That's commercial. Well, where is that line? Okay. How wide is that stripe? So it's important to follow property lines. So those are two things in terms of zoning interpretation, text and map that you do. Now we're going to talk about variances. Variances are non-use, meaning not dealing with the use of the property, but the dimensions of structures upon the property. So somebody, Mr. Flood, wants to build a building, but with the building he wants to put up, he can't meet the setback requirements. Those are the front, side, and rear yard requirements. Those are safety for fire and for public safety access to around the property. You know, it might be, 10 feet rear setback. So you get some clear space around structures. But maybe Mr. Flood only wants to build, wants to put something there, and he's only going to be 5 feet from the property line, their property line. Now, he can't do it. He requests a variance from that requirement. So he has to prove to you folks, it's not your job, that there's a practical difficulty in doing that. And on some properties, it might be an odd-shaped lot, okay, that he can't meet the setback requirements. It might be a big ravine there. We don't have too many of those in the village of Calumet, but other places they do. I can't meet the setbacks because I've got a steep grade, I've got wetlands, I've got some other issue on my property that prevents me from meeting that setback requirement. So you need to show that practical difficulty.
What if
So,
there is no difficulty? It's just you want it.
well, and this is
And-
it cannot be self-created, and this is where we talked about standards, and we need some more standards. One is that the request cannot be self-created. Okay, in other words, maybe you can't meet the setback requirements because a person wants to put up a 30 by 30 garage. Well, I'll make it 30 by 25, and you can meet the requirements, all right? So that's a self-created practical difficulty. Okay?
Okay.
Now again, these use variances on page 10, I really don't think it's a good idea, and the bottom bullet there, ordinance may prohibit their consideration. I strongly recommend that, and it's already in your ordinance, it's not for use, it's just for dimensional type issues. So here are some of these standards that I was talking about on dimensional variances on page or slide 11. Unique circumstances applying to the property. I mentioned steep slopes, wetlands, grades, and so forth. How is the property different from others? That it won't adversely affect adjacent property. What is, is there a harm? Did the applicant take any action to create this situation himself? And you've seen this. Somebody chooses to kind of maybe put one accessory building such that now there's no way to build anything else, and now they have to ask for a variance. And again, self-created, why is the variance necessary? And again, variance is the minimum necessary. So you're always looking to do the minimum to try, and the idea is to help people, because again, sometimes there are practical difficulties with the parcel of land. And maybe not due to that person's own action.
For instance, do you have any experience with if a party wants to abut a garage or an outbuilding tight to the alley, so there is no 10-foot, they want to have a 1-foot, does that have any implications for fire, or because we got our sewer and water down there?
Well, that's what you need to consider
What?
when you're looking at those things. But yet, if we look at downtown here, there's no setback requirements. We're building right up to the lot lines. So Village of Calumet's unique. It's a very urban environment. It's different than a suburb, that's for sure, or being out in a township. So it might be fine, they used to build garages, but again, is there room so that the person can maintain the garage without going on their neighbor's property? Where's the snow from the roof gonna go? Is it gonna go on their property or on the neighbor's property? These are all just things you need to look at when you give these kind of requests. So again, there's little variance exercise here on the next slide, number 12. Somebody wants to, so the green area is the property, and the light green area is the setback, the buildable area, let's say. And they want to put a house expansion on the east side of that house. What's the practical difficulty? Why don't they do it on the west side of the property, on the west side of the house? Well, because I've got a garage there, blah, 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 there's a hill, there's a slope, there's some other reason why I can't do it in that area, then that's a practical difficulty. So, and then here's another one, you might see this more and more, addition for in-law apartment for ailing relative. Does it matter that that's a relative?
To the relative.
Huh?
To the relative.
No, it's to the village.
Uh,
Not really, is it? It's not a consideration. Because you know what, that expansion is there forever. Relative may not be. They may sell the property in 6 months, right? And then that's there forever, so. And then page 14, another little exercise, just as an example of trying to, looking at an accessory building in your yard. You've got an odd-shaped parcel. Is there an alternative to putting the accessory building in the rear yard? Well, you might be able to fit it on the side of the house or something, okay? But again, it is an odd-shaped parcel, so perhaps that is the only place, okay? And I don't want to spend a lot of time on these, and we don't have any pipelines overhead easements here on page 15, but another example. These use variances, I just can't see them because it totally circumvents. The Planning Commission does a master plan, they prepare zoning ordinance, and then someone can come to the Zoning Board of Appeals to get basically a zoning change without, so again, I recommend staying away. It's not allowed now in your ordinance. I wouldn't make it allowed, use variances. So we'll skip those slides. So on page 17, I love these. Huh?
You brought up an interesting point. If somebody were to build up to the alley, then they would be on village property always to do any maintenance, any painting, anything, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, like Tony Bassano, isn't his garage on the alley? And didn't the village truck hit it and then we had to replace the garage or something? Can somebody look into and find out if we've had problems by allowing that?
Well, is that a current request, is to build right up to the alley line? The right of way?
Well, I thought Tony Bassano did.
No, but currently, is there an application to do that?
Well, sure there is. Jim Flood's garage should
He
be
doesn't want to go right up to the line.
1 foot in.
He said 2 feet, but he is. But
Well, that's,
either way, it's still.
1 foot, you still can't paint it or walk around it or.
I know, but
or
it's
do
an
anything.
alley, so the alley is, people can.
It's actually, it's right away, right?
It's
It's
right
not,
away.
Yeah.
As long as people don't block it, then, people can get sort of quiet.
So I love these
Okay.
on number 17, I love these little excuses, it's appropriate reasons to grant variances. I hear this one a lot about signs. It's the only sign they make. It's already built.
You have to do it on the weekend.
Yeah. I didn't know.
So what do
No
you do in that
excuse.
case? If it's up, I mean,
If it's wrong, then they should be required to remove it.
I thought in Hancock, when that party built his garage, he just got on the council then.
Well,
So it got
you
to
know,
stay.
and you can't, you know, you have to follow your laws. And certainly, lots of people do follow the regulations. Why should that person get off, right?
Well, I can.
But, you know,
see
again,
what
you
you're
have
saying.
to
You have
weigh
the
these
zoning.
things out. You have to
There'll
weigh
be
these things.
very few requests to change or violate the zoning as it stands.
Right.
But you see, now in this case, I feel that the village has dropped the ball. It appears that Mr. Flood applied for a building permit in March. In May, he came to the village, and here we are at the end of, the
But there-
beginning of August, not the end
But
of
there
July
there
anymore.
wasn't a zoning board of appeal and nobody would volunteer for it.
But with a short building season, what kind of timeframe when
Well, you know
somebody
what?
makes a
The lesson is, God can't even build a garage in this town. Right? So how are you gonna get somebody to invest millions in a big building? You gotta get your act together. You know, you can't, and, you know, poor Joe, you can't blame him. And I
Sure
know
you can.
it's hard to get people to volunteer, but somebody should have hustled around and found some people to, you know, and actually, you need to keep your appointments up. Same thing with planning commission. You didn't have a planning commission until last month.
Right, and as far as
Or June, or
expiration, I
whatever,
just
okay.
brought this in for the DDA.
So you gotta keep these things up because, you know, the world keeps spinning. People might wanna do things and you can't, somebody comes in and goes, hey, I wanna invest millions downtown, but I need zoning, I need a variance, I need something. Can't go, well, come back next year and maybe we'll have our act together. They'll go to the next town, you know? So you gotta keep your appointments up, keep your boards filled. And I know it's a hard thing in small towns. There's only, you know, a small labor or volunteer pool of people willing to do that. But hopefully we get things turned around where good things are happening and people will want to be a part of it. That's the whole idea, but it's gonna take work and being consistent and not fighting about stuff. You know, you gotta get some work done here and join the 21st century. So let's talk about nonconformities. I don't have a lot of time today. Again, I just offered to do this, come by and do a little training. So nonconformities. And these are addressed in your ordinance, non-conforming uses, non-conforming buildings, and so forth. So you, sometimes the zoning board of appeals has to hear approvals for somebody wants to rebuild a non-conforming building, let's say it burns down or something. So definition is building use of a lot that met the requirements of the zoning ordinance but no longer complies. So let's say in 2018 you adopt a new zoning ordinance in the village of Calumet, and so something that was conformed to the 1990 might not in the new ordinance. Probably not, but there's a chance. So you have non-conforming uses, non-conforming buildings, and non-conforming lots. So zoning ordinance should deal with how these things are dealt with within your zoning ordinance. So going on page 20, we're getting near the end here. Again, as I said, it's not your job to help any applicant figure it out to avoid an inconvenience or because of their personal circumstances, you know, a mother-in-law apartment kind of thing. Heather, your job is to interpret and uphold the zoning ordinance. Except where there are unusual circumstances. It's not all or nothing, and there are unique circumstances that, so that's what you're dealing with on the ZBA. So, variances were never intended to allow property owners to avoid compliance, but rather that not all properties have the same physical characteristics. And if you just throw these things out left and right and talk about, let's give them a variance, and let them do it. Pretty soon your whole book might as well throw it in the trash. So you never feel bad about turning somebody down, because people are smart. They can figure out ways around it and to be able to conform to your ordinance. So lots of people do. And one of the things I look at when I'm updating the zoning ordinance is what's the history, How many variances, what are the variances have they been granted? City Marquette back in 1970 adopted a zoning ordinance. Well, when they did that, they made 75% of the building lots in the city non-conforming. Because most of Marquette's an old town, like here, small lots, 60-foot lots. Their minimum lot size in the city of Marquette now is 75 feet wide. So anytime anybody wants to do something on a property, they have to apply for a variance. $600 is the fee to do that in the city of Marquette. It costs money to publish, to do reviews, so forth, staff time, mailing. So what are you charging? 25?
That would have been, it's
So
like,
that's the other thing,
We're going in the hole.
you set your fee to the appropriate level to cover costs. But somebody might come in, I want a variance. Oh, that'll be $300. Oh, I guess I don't want it. So it really discourages, kind of frivolous, or maybe I can work around this and make my
For
garage
$25,
a little
why not
bit-
try?
Why not try, right?
Yeah.
Plus, you shouldn't be losing money on it, and you should cover your costs at a minimum.
yeah, I'm tracking it on these ones we do it now.
Okay, so for
In
instance,
some communities even, when you've got a busy administrator, he's got lots of duties. How much time have you spent on zoning here in the last couple of weeks?
Quite a couple days.
Couple days. Some communities do is they hire somebody on a contract basis or whatever, a zoning administrator, so it's not in his court. And some communities, will hire a professional planning firm or individual to handle all this stuff, all the administrative stuff, write up a nice report for the planning commission and help guide them through that whole process. Somebody's trained in it, so they do that as well. But again, we've got a lot of work. We want to get the master plan done by the end of the year, and then move forward, and get you going on the zoning.
I have a question. If somebody comes in, they pay the fee, and they complete this, when they return it, then it goes to the planning commission or the zoning administrator, either one.
For a
They get
variance,
this-
it does not go to the planning commission. Variance comes to the zoning board of appeals. But you do have, you're the zoning administrator appointed? Yeah. So Joe does all the work on it, and he sets up the meetings and public hearings.
Okay, so that's just, it goes straight to the zoning board when they get.
Yes, it does.
And then the conditional or special use, as you were saying, that goes,
To the planning commission.
okay.
Mhm.
And then, say we have a public hearing for either, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a public hearing after the adequate notification to all parties. Then does the planning commission get together with the ZBA to help finalize a decision? Or just after the public hearing, then a decision's made by whom? The council?
Again, the zoning board of appeals only hears variances and appeals. Planning commission deals with rezoning requests and with the conditional use permit.
Rezoning?
Yeah, changing your zoning, text or map.
Okay.
The way it is in the state now, the planning commission is also the zoning commission, also according to the statute.
But we just call it the planning commission.
Right.
Again, that's one of the quirks of Michigan law. It's,
See, like, I'm looking at, like, what kind of timeline are we talking, you know, to do these? What's
well, it's
standard?
gonna take you a good 30 days, you know. I guess that's what, one of the things you need to set up is that process, like a little administrative manual. So if somebody wants to build a garage, they need a variance, Mr. Flood, you know, he needs to have his, if he wants to get it on the agenda for the zoning board of appeals, which maybe would meet, not as needed, but rather on a certain day of the month, you know, the second Tuesday, or whatever it is, he needs to have his application complete, the fee paid well in advance of that. Sufficient time for staff review, for publishing the notice, for sending out the notifications and so forth.
See, if our zoning ordinance says they have to draw the existing sewer lines and that, and it's not on here, then what do? Just say you don't need to do that?
You need to get this done.
Because this isn't complete then. And it does say 1 foot, but, I mean, it talks about what kind of building material, a 32 by 30 foot, 2-story garage. But since he owns the adjacent property, and there's a street on 2 sides, the only concern would be the alley. What if somebody hit his garage because they go down
That's
the
the
alley?
risk he takes, you know.
But could we put like a restrictive endorsement saying you'd have to do this at your own peril because if you get a variance, you could possibly have damage to your garage because you are so tight to the village right away? Or do you have to talk to the police officer?
Williams, Parks and Fly there also, because they're right up against the same alley, right across from this. You know that.
Right.
Yeah, so again, there
I
are
mean, it's-
circumstances
But I
that
mean,
might be
you can get
perfectly
considering
fine.
that.
No, you don't have to put any caveats or waivers of liability on it. It's not your problem if he has decided to build it right in the path of automobiles, you know. As long as he's not in your right of way. Now, if you allow him to build in your right of way, that's something different. The other thing, if he owns adjacent property, but it's a separate lot, you have to be careful about that because he might say, well, now I'm going to sell that lot. And, you know, then again, it becomes someone else's problem.
Because it's forever.
Hmm?
Because it's forever.
Because it's forever, right. So, you know, that might be consideration, but then you should say, well, combine your properties, okay, into one parcel, and then we don't have to worry about that.
No, but for instance, after a public hearing, I'd be interested in what the planning commission, if they would feel that we should uphold what they're trying to uphold or have some dialogue.
No, the zoning board of appeals, again, you know, they should be given a copy of the master plan, but it doesn't go to the planning commission. If someone from the planning commission has an interest in what's happening, they can come and attend the meeting.
The public hearing,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, we haven't.
But again,
done this, so-
variances, you know, the planning commission prepares your zoning ordinance, and the ZBA is just there to hear appeals and to consider variances from the
Now-
zoning ordinance.
Can we change the fee
Yeah.
at the meeting today, or should we wait until the,
Is it in your ordinance, the 25, or is it a
It's in the
separate
ordinance.
schedule? I forget.
I believe it's in the ordinance.
Yeah. So what we'll do when you change your ordinance is you pull the fees out of your ordinance, and then every year, you just make it part of your fee schedule that we review and
um,
It
increase.
says here the price of variance is $25.
Yeah, so
What
that shouldn't
page
be
is
in
that
there.
on?
57.
57? Okay,
That
There's
shouldn't
a lot
be
of
in
things
there.
that need to get changed in it.
But what you don't want to do at this point is start piecemeal changing your zoning ordinance, because there's a whole process to do that. You know, let's get through the master plan and then look at doing your zoning ordinance and, you know, again, get that fee schedule out of the zoning ordinance, so it's more of an administrative thing rather than having to change an ordinance.
right. Yeah,
And every year you review your fee schedules, and I'm sure you have fees, well, I'm not sure you do, but that would be one thing that you would consider, would be, here's our fee schedule for zoning and permits.
okay. A fire truck. How wide is a fire truck? Can it get down an alley?
I know that's something that has to be considered.
We have some roads in our village that aren't wide enough for fire
Yeah.
trucks, Peggy.
Not just the alleys.
Oh my, we have
And then there's the whole
lots of other
snow
things
issue,
too.
you
Yeah,
know, is,
yeah.
you know, is the alley plowed, you know, and so forth, so.
No,
so-
I think it'd be minimal, any impact on anybody. I just would like to find out if, when the garage was hit, if in fact,
Whose liability is it?
yeah, because if we create the scenario where they're told they can build that house, and they'd say, well, you should have known that, you know, we'd get hit, so we want you to pay for it, because I'd like somebody to find out what happened to Bassano's garage and why the village paid for it, if in fact the village did, because I keep hearing that, you know, because I don't
Go
want
ask
to.
them,
Yeah, I should,
yeah.
yeah. Actually, good idea. Yeah. So this is really helpful.
Any more questions about the ZBA? Good luck. You know, and hopefully
And
you're
what's
not
it-
gonna get too many requests. It's gonna be things like this garage. You know, and again, remember, it's self-created.
But I really
Why does
think
he need a 32 by 30 garage?
he just bought 2 village trucks.
Oh,
That's how it.
but, you know, and then the whole idea that it's 2 stories, you're gonna meet the height requirements?
I think we say nothing more than 2.5 stories, but is that a house?
Doesn't matter. 2.5 stories.
I know it, like in Keweenaw County, when you're talking about zoning change, you need 200 feet. You can't build on small little parcels like we did years ago. Yeah, so I guess you've got to keep up with what does
Well,
the law
you
say.
can in Alloway and Mohawk, and they, you know, they have,
So
that's real similar.
is it correct that if we have an ordinance, that our ordinance is trumped by what the state says the requirements are? Does the state take precedence over what we say?
You can be more restrictive in the state. No, the state law did change since your zoning ordinance was adopted. And they have some new requirements there that, you know, are different, like for notifications of property owners. So we had this issue, Joe had this issue just this week. You know, he followed the ordinance. Somebody pointed out that, hey, the state law says differently, and so now they have to go and redo that whole thing.
So
A couple people
Is it
did get
15
notified.
days after it appears in the paper that you have a public hearing, or when does the clock start ticking?
It has to be posted 15 days before the public hearing.
Oh.
And your ordinance required 15, didn't it? Well, what it didn't do was where the state law changed was required that occupants of rental units be notified, as well as property owners. Only property owners are notified.
But I think that should have always been in there, because if you're renting a place and they're changing the zoning somehow, you should really be aware of what's going on if you're a renter. So that's nice. Most people probably were courteous and told the renters, but in the
But-
case they didn't. I think
Today,
it's
yes,
good.
Peggy, but a lot of times when these laws were written, the bulk of the people lived at the residence. They weren't the rentals or the person charged. So yeah, we need to bring it up. You know,
Yeah.
obviously when the state changed everything in 2006, they saw the need to change a lot of things, obviously.
You know, and I always advise going beyond, you know, if it says 300 feet, but there's one property just outside that, go beyond that. And my other advice, at least to the zoning administrator, make a list of everybody you notified, and even on the map, color it in, you know, make a copy of the plat, draw that circle, that 300-foot circle around it, and like your ordinance requires 500 feet. Or the 10 properties.
But it's different for the planning commission, for conditional use permit, that's what applies. For a variant, it just says 500 feet,
Okay.
which is, so again, depending on the
A
ordinance is different
conditional
for
use,
both.
what's a conditional use? Are they both
Condition-
500 feet?
For the variant, it's 500 feet, and all property owners within 500 feet. For the conditional use, it's all property owners within 500 feet, or the 10 nearest property owners.
Which one do you pick?
Which one I picked, the 10
No, I
nearest.
mean-
Smallest
I mean, you can choose whichever you want. It's
Yeah.
not- It's not. it's
That's
either
why
or.
those words mean something. Or,
Absolutely it
Yeah.
does. So, you know, 500 feet, you build a Calumet, that's a lot of notifications in some locations, in some places.
and I think that was really important when you said we don't even have enough to cover the postage, much less the publication of the ads. Yeah,
Yeah, it's over $100, you know, just before you start really looking at, you know, any of the other administrative work that's applied to it.
okay.
So keep up, you know, you gotta do your housekeeping and keep up your ordinances and your boards. Because, you know, over time, it just languishes. You know, I think part of the problem too, you know, there's not a lot going on. So if you don't have a variance request for 2 years,
6 years was the last one,
6 years.
What was the last one?
2011.
I mean, how many have we had, like,
I mean, that was.
what was that for 6 years ago?
It was a garage. But it's been 6 years since that somebody had asked for it.
The city Marquette, they'll have 6 every month, okay, on their agenda. So,
Whoa,
you know, you have one every 6 years. But again, you still have to keep up your boards so that you don't get caught like this, where you're 6 months later, guy's still waiting.
but this
Yeah,
application
shading and rolling his eyes,
isn't
or rolling
complete
his shirt, huh?
according to, if this isn't complete according to our requirements.
But see, the requirements though, it's very broad because it doesn't matter whether, I think when you were looking at, it didn't matter whether it was whether you were putting in a garage or building a house or building a sidewalk, you know. Because some of the stuff isn't necessarily applicable to it.
Well, if it says you should include where your sewer and,
Question is, Peggy, are
Yeah.
we sure it's mapped in that area? Because I know a lot of the village and the township is not mapped.
well, because I personally could not comply with this form, I sold my mother's house because it was so inclusive. So it's either gonna be a requirement or it's not, and it should be for everybody, or it's not, because we can't play with people's lives. I would have kept it if I didn't have so much rigmarole, but at the time I thought, well, there's no way I can comply. So I chose to sell. So we either have it or we don't, and that's what creates the chaos and the infighting. You've got to be fair-handed, and if we don't like our zoning ordinance, then change it.
Does your ordinance list that it requires what has to
That's
be
it.
shown? I know for site plan review it does.
Right, but
Now, here, I thought
It may not.
this is important, because describe the reason. And the reason, garage variance to reduce side and rear yard setback. There's supposed to be
That's
20
not a reason.
20 feet in the back, and that to me isn't a reason either, it's what they want.
Right.
So that's where you said it shouldn't be self-interest?
Well, he needs to explain why does he need that, okay? And it would be something like, my property isn't large enough to build the garage I need to build within the setback areas.
See, look at, if I look at it, it looks like a flat rectangle, but they lose part of their yard if they move the garage closer to the house. But that shouldn't be the concern of the Board
okay,
of
that's
Appeals.
something that would come out during the public hearing also.
Right.
You
Yeah.
get a chance to just.
But again,
See.
the fact he wants a 32 by 30 garage is not a good enough reason. You know?
See, this was the application for
To
the
meet.
building permit.
To meet, you know, to meet the setback requirements.
What were you referring to?
I think,
Were you looking in that, were you looking in the building permit? 'Cause I don't.
It might be under site plan
Yeah, I-
review that it requires
I got a
sewer,
look.
water, or something.
see, it says, please include size of lot,
Yeah, that's,
size of building, where
that's
located,
the
location
building, that's the building
of
permit.
septic,
request.
well, driveway, distance from lake or
That's the
stream.
building
That's the
permit.
building
Yeah, that's the
permit.
building,
That's from Todd LaRue, so that has,
right. No, but I'm saying what I got from the village, this is 10 years ago.
you done that?
But
I am.
I know you gotta
Any
run.
more questions?
I know you have to run.
I do.
Yeah. I appreciate you
very much.
taking the time to come down here.
Yeah, this was
Hopefully it was
real
helpful.
helpful, and
All
I
right,
think,
good.
I think, we need to heed what you said, update the zoning ordinance so it complies with the law, and update our fees so that we're being fair, and I think when you're talking $25,
Well,
that's not
1990
reasonable, and like you
first
said,
time.
people wouldn't be applying for a variance if they had to.
Yeah, it'd probably be, ought to be, you know,
Comply.
$100 or something anyway, so. And you can call around and see what other communities are charging.
Yeah.
Calumet Township and so forth. Thank you very much.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Thank you, Pat. You make the motion to adjourn. Is there anything else? Well, it said review variance request.
I don't know if you wanted.
Are we gonna look at that?
I don't know if you wanted to look it over or not, and if you had any questions, or, the basic question.
I guess what I thought was interesting is it's like previous action conditional use for a daycare driveway improvement, but was there a permit ever to put in a daycare in a residential house?
I don't know, but he just, there was, I don't know if there was one or not, but anyways, with the garage though.
But I mean, you get the permit for the business and then you, not just the
Yeah,
driveway.
that's besides the school we're looking at here though. But for this though, the reason he has to have 25-foot setback from the garage to the front of the property. So he met that. I think it was, he told me it was 1 foot, but I think he said, or he wrote 1 foot, but he came and told me it was 2 feet is what he wants to have there, because there's the requirement is, if you look in here, it says 4 feet setback for the buildings away from the property lines from any building.
Does it say 4
Yeah.
or 10?
No, it's
10 you need to build 10 feet in, I thought.
it says there's a, let's see.
Because the county building would come into play too.
Let's see.
I wonder if Todd LaRue, our building
The front
inspector,
yard regulation is 25 feet in depth. Let's see, for the front yard. Let's see, side yard width of not less than 4 feet on each side of the building. That's on page 12 that you had talked about.
okay, page 12, okay.
Yeah. And the case, then he starts talking about the case for corner lot, not less than, let's see, the nearest to street, not less than 10 feet in width. And then they refer to attached garage, which doesn't apply here.
Did it say 20 feet in the rear though?
Well, for rear yard regulations, they said the rear yard not less than 20 feet.
Right, so if it's 20 in the back and they want 1 foot or up to the property
Well,
line,
which one are you talking about? Is it 20 feet or is it 4 feet? Because it says each building has to be not less than 4 feet.
side setbacks.
So,
Or, see, that's where it, maybe,
Well,
our
then we also
building
run
inspector
into, then
could
we
help.
also run the problem is he wants the garage off of Oak Street and the house is on 7th Street.
No, it's on Oak.
that's, on 8th Street.
Oh, yeah, it's Oak, okay, 8th Street, okay.
Yeah.
It's 8th
seven-
Street, and that's Oak. So the deal is there, he's got to plow snow to keep the driveway clear. He can't plow it into the streets.
Right.
So he has to plow it in between his garage and his house to be able to push the snow back there. And that's why he wants to have
Space
that
to
width
do that.
in there so that he can plow snow back there. And, if you say, well, you can move it over there, then you can't, and then you can say, well, is it okay if I plow snow in the
In
street?
the alley,
then?
yeah, it'd be in the
Which-
alley then.
And then, so that's the reason, so he meets the 25 feet by putting it there, and then he won't have to have the 4 foot setback, which I think is what it's supposed to be because he meets 25 feet in the front, and then on the alley side, he won't have the 4 feet because he needs the space to be able to plow the snow into the backyard. So that's kind of the gist of what he wants, is why he
Yeah.
wants the garage there.
So now at the earliest,
Well, it's gonna, I'd say, we have to resubmit
It'll be
everything,
like
because I didn't
September?
I followed the ordinance, I didn't follow the statute, so we have to redo everything again, so it's gonna be, from the time I'll have to plan it out ahead so that we can get everything ready. I mean, I can get everything ready.
but you need to find out the number of addresses.
Well, you
and
can
that.
either, we can find off the owner, we have the owners based on the tax roll, and that's what we used the last time, so we have that, so that's not a problem. The part that we have to do is the people that we don't know if they're the owners or not, but what you can do is you can send it to the occupant if you don't know the person's name who's in the property. And you can hand deliver them too, so you don't have to necessarily mail them. So
Okay,
it's
but
not-
that's gonna take a week, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so you're talking like 3 weeks then to get, before to set it up again.
Okay, so does that apply to both public hearings?
Yeah,
So
So
we're not
that's-
having one on the 8th or
No.
the 16th then?
right.
Okay.
I got my jacket.
Oh,
Take care.
good thing it's not winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Was there anything else? I need to reread the zoning ordinance and just see what I have for papers, why I thought drawing in where the sewer comes out of a property, and that was a bit much.
Let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
And, do we have any other, our form, maybe it looks like we have all the categories on it, the type of request. And
Yeah,
just
it's-
change our email.
Yeah, the whole thing has to get updated.
Do we have a fax of 5964 anymore? Is that
There's
the
a
fax number?
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. And we can update it, I don't have to go through the detail on that.
Yeah. I just think we'll have to be able to respond, especially for anything concerning building, quickly, because
Right.
by the middle of October, we get our first snow. October 12th is the date I'd like to have everything done by. Okay. Then is there, are there any other comments, or should we just review this and then wait to hear when you're going to schedule the public hearing?
So his address is 713 Oak, his front is Oak Street, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, he does really nice
No
work.
matter how much I read this, it looks like it's supposed to have 20 feet off the back, or could be that, not 4.
Off the house.
Off the house?
No,
No.
off the back.
Off of any building off the back?
There should be a rear yard of not less than 20 feet except during,
See with our,
the only exception seems to be an attached garage. So if I'm reading this, right, it's supposed to be 20 feet back. In the back would be this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but it
so
also
he's
says that-
asking for a lot.
So theoretically, if he's gotta have a 25-foot driveway and 20 feet in
20
the
feet off the
back,
back
he
and 4
could,
foot off the side.
yeah, there's no, you couldn't build a garage at all.
No, I get that, I was just making
Yeah.
sure, reading.
There's lots,
Right.
lots not deep enough to do
It also
this.
says each building has to be, 4 feet also.
Yeah.
but isn't 30 by 32 a big garage? What's the standard
I mean, that's
garage?
huge, that's a pole barn almost.
I don't know.
See, I don't know, we don't have a garage.
24 by
24 by 36.
36.
So that's,
The spot we park on is 26 by 26, so.
so
yeah.
it's bigger than that.
Not by much, but
No,
yeah,
but-
it's basically a 2-car garage.
It's a deep 2-car garage.
It's a double deep, yeah.
Yeah, but if that's supposed to be 20 and it's supposed to be.
Well, if you look at his lot and you mark up
Yeah.
25 feet, it's not.
Yeah, it's
deep
not like you can do
garage.
much, but, I mean.
He doesn't have a very deep.
But he does have other properties in the village that maybe he could put a garage on.
I don't like that he didn't give us a real reason. Could have been much
What's that?
describe the reason you wanted, but he could have said, you know, my lot isn't deep enough for he could put anything there.
Yeah.
And he
Again,
didn't.
that's what the public hearing is.
Yep.
Right.
You know, I see.
No, I was just making sure I was looking at the map right.
It sounds like we better be real careful when we give variances because it's like precedent setting. And if we enforce zoning for one person and then
We have to be consistent.
don't comply for other people, then how's our master plan gonna fit? But the Copper Country, we've always been free spirits and we've done what we wanna do.
Well.
So I don't know if I like all these rules. Maybe there's a reason the county doesn't have zoning.
Well, I'm looking at the majority of the buildings in the village are non-compliant. So all these rules have been written after most of these buildings have been built.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to make people conform to a standard that they're not seeing anymore. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one.
Okay, it is 4:30. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, let's see. Now, we have a closed meeting at 6 to review the theater lease, and tomorrow we have sanitation. Okay,
Oh,
Right.
you're talking about something else.
okay, so that'll work.
All right. Thanks, I'll,
Great.
as soon as I get something else recording, I'll be able to schedule a date.
Mr. Chair, oils or something.
Meeting.